Welcome to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. In this podcast, we discuss mystical works of literature and how they relate to recovery. We hope you enjoy today's podcast episode.
Hey guys, Buddy C. Welcome to the Tao of Our Understanding podcast. Today we have Marla and Kate and Craig so far. How are you guys this week? What's going on? Anything particular?
Nothing to discuss. No.
Are y'all still locked down? Are you still hunkered down, more or less?
Yeah, Michigan, technically August 11th, but she'll change it again after that. It's until we get it under control in the state.
Iowa is not locked down. We're just kind of doing whatever we want.
Well, you guys are far apart. Vermont has
a
no
more
cases.
Rural area here.
Right. So it really does very much depend on where you live, I think.
Our first minister, she's relentless. She's like, nothing's happening until I tell you it's happening. So we're still social distancing. It's now mandatory on public transport and shops. If I'm going into other people's houses as well, it's mandatory that we wear protective equipment, which is face mask and gloves as well. Need to make sure I've got hands. Yeah, it's still serious. We're sports clubs are allowed to meet outside now, but they have to do like social distancing. So
it's the same here. It's just people don't follow it. A lot of people don't follow it, and they're close together. And
the schools are supposed to go back on the 12th of August, so we're just waiting to find out if it's going to be full-time education or if it's going to be part-time and homeschooling. AA meetings, hopefully the AA meeting should be in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We should be opening up and just getting some members back into it. Because there's a lot of people struggling out there. There's a lot of people that need meetings.
Oh, right. Very
much so, because we're in that gap between, everyone's not doing Zoom meetings anymore. We have got this gap between no local meetings or very limited local, not as many online. Let's go ahead and mention those, Marla. What's the one you guys have been doing?
The daily recovery meeting through the SRC.
Yeah, it's dailyrecoverymeeting.com or something. I'll put the post.
It's noon Central Time. It's 1:00 Eastern Time. Don't ask me about Pacific Time.
Yeah. Then Zoom AAmeetings.com is an actual meeting at 9 p.m. every night at 9 p.m. Eastern. It's 9 p.m. I see people trying to go on at 9 a.m. a lot, but it's 9 p.m. I get a text when it's not open, so I could make sure that, if somebody drops the ball and doesn't open the meeting. So I get a text almost every morning at, 8:55, someone trying to get in. I'm sorry, the meeting's in 12 hours. Hold on,
Yeah, people really need that morning meeting.
Don't forget, we're going to have Sensei week after next. So we're going to be talking about the first chapter of the Tao Te Ching. So we need to work on our questions for him. And I have a post in the private Facebook group. Anyone who wants to join our private Facebook group, it is Tao of Our Understanding is the name of the private Facebook group. Search for that name, and if Craig likes you, he will accept you.
He'll let you in?
He'll let you in.
Do you know, Craig likes Marla that much. He sent her 2 invitations last week and she still hasn't joined it. So she's either not talking to us. So the Facebook group, it's a private group. So anybody can find the group, but nobody can see what's posted in it, unless, apart from the people that's actually in it, the only ones that are visible are the admins on the group. So it's completely private. And it's open to anybody that's not in recovery, and people that's in recovery, just anybody at all, as long as they've got an interest in the Tao.
Cool.
Interested in the Tao. Yes. Today we're talking about 3 a.m. Any thoughts on this before we begin? Oh, I know, Kate, we've got to hurry up and talk because you've got to leave at 4:30, right? At the bottom?
Do, yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get on this instead of me rambling, and we'll get this. Who would like to read?
I'll be happy to read.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's a quickie. 3 a.m. when we wear out our minds, stubbornly clinging to one partial view of things, refusing to see a deeper agreement between this and its complementary opposite, we have what is called 3 a.m. What is this 3 a.m? A monkey trainer went to his monkeys and told them, as regards to your chestnuts, you're going to have 3 measures in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. At this, they all became angry. So he said, all right, in that case, I will give you 4 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. This time they were satisfied. The 2 arrangements were the same in that the number of chestnuts did not change. But in one case, the animals were displeased, and in the other, they were satisfied. The keeper had been willing to change his personal arrangement in order to meet objective conditions. He lost nothing by it. The truly wise man, considering both sides of the question without partiality, sees them both in the light of the Tao. This is called following 2 courses at once. When I first read the title of this, I thought, oh, is this about the thoughts that wake me up at 3 a.m? No, not quite.
Well, it could be.
I suppose it could be. It's very clever.
Dumb monkeys. They could talk, but they couldn't figure out it was the same thing. First, they're always talking to his monkeys. Wait, they can't tell the difference between those two?
And they're talking monkeys, too.
And they're talking monkeys.
Still can't tell the difference.
Anyone else?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. My first thought was thinking outside of the box, that idea that I have to think differently. And then I read this first little paragraph again. When we wear out our minds, stubbornly clinging to one partial view of things, refusing to see a deeper agreement between this and its complementary opposite. Now, complementary opposite, what does that mean? Complementary opposite. I never thought of an opposite as being complementary.
No, and no. What can you argue about?
Sorry, Marla.
No, go ahead, Kate.
It makes me kind of think about that story with the guy whose son breaks his leg, and he goes to, and then his son, he thinks, oh, that's bad, he broke his leg, but then it's good because he doesn't have to go to war, so that it's kind of arbitrary to say, the story makes me think it's kind of arbitrary to say what's good and what's bad. Those are kind of complementary to each other in an opposite way because it's good and yet it's bad. Because there's like a sense of uncertainty about it. But maybe it's saying we need to keep that sense of uncertainty about what's good. I don't know if it's good or bad necessarily, but about those opposites in a situation. Like that we can't take a situation to be all one case or the other case. Because we can't attach ourselves to a single viewpoint.
We were talking about that last week.
The pivot.
The pivot is talking about that very thing. And that even that one creates the other. That when we have the one off kilter, off balance, we create its opposite. And so it when we go in a one direction to an extreme, we're going to create the other extreme, like the good and bad and the beautiful and ugly and all those.
What if you're having a conversation, an argument with another human, and they're asking you to see a side that's not opposite of yours, but sideways of yours? I guess is.
Well, I know that when I'm in an argument, the only person I normally argue with is my wife. Most other people I don't argue with, but I do know that if I stop arguing, the argument stops.
I understand that, but in terms of this chapter,
in terms of this chapter,
to see the other side of somebody's view, even though it's insane and sideways.
well, first of all, for me to see someone's view, I have to drop calling it insane.
I was just driving home a point.
I know. But that's what I do too, though. I start, when I name things and when I tag them and label them, that's all that labeling, that good and bad stuff, Kate. It's that. Because when I start doing that, if I call someone a dumbass, if somebody pulls out in front of me, you effing dumbass, I'm gone. I mean, I just get worse and worse, and I sit there and I can just get all mad over nothing. But if I don't start that labeling,
I'll start it. I know.
If I stay away from the labeling and I smile at them instead, when I want to flip them the bird, tell them they're number one, Tina, and tell them they're number one. But if I do the opposite of that, it's almost like I'm coming back to the center,
right?
Getting off of those edges,
which is where the pivot is.
Yes,
from the center.
And this is very much the same. It's very much the same thought, the same idea coming from a different perspective. Craig,
am I seeing some compromise in this chapter? That it's not all just about our point of view, and it's not doing any harm taking other people's points of view and needs into consideration. Just when he's talking about the monkeys, you're going to give them three chestnuts in the morning and 4 in the afternoon, and they're not happy with that. Well, let's compromise, because I'm not losing anything by compromising. I'm not losing any face by doing so. I'm not losing anything else by coming and going.
Well, that's part of negotiation always, Craig, is you think, what do they need? What are they looking for? No matter what it is that you're talking about. If you're in a negotiation, what is it that they're after?
It shows a willingness to let go as well. Let go of my opinion, let go of my...
Is to bend a little, not make them bend, but you bend.
Yeah.
Has
anybody else been up at 3 o'clock in the morning?
No, never.
Conscious. Just consciously being up at 3 in the morning, not walking around drunk or anything like that, or lying around drunk. So 3 o'clock in the morning is actually a magical time of the morning, because it's kind of like the real close of one day. And then you've got that kind of hour between 3 and 4, and it's just the start of a new day. It's actually a really quiet, serene time to be up. I've spent many a day up at 3 o'clock in the morning, just meditating and just doing readings, because it's been part of my recovery that my sleep patterns have been disturbed for the past couple of years, and just getting up first thing in the mornings, it's actually been really beneficial for me, because it gives me that time just to be myself and meditate and just make sure I'm ready for the day ahead. But there is just something magical about 3 a.m. I think Simon and Garfunkel released an album called Wednesday Morning 3 a.m. and it was all to do with the time between one day finished and the other day starting.
We'll have to look at
meditation.
I don't think it's a coincidence that this chapter is called 3 in the morning. I think it's more to the actual time itself, 3 in the morning, than the title suggests.
3 a.m. is meditation time too, 3 and 4. Lots of the big meditators do their early morning, the hour of elixir, I believe is what they call that.
So could that be alluding to when it says, when we wear out our minds, stubbornly clinging to one partial view of things, refusing to see a deeper agreement between this and its complementary opposite? An
agreement between the opposites. That's interesting. Yeah, exactly. I never thought about the opposites agreeing.
But wait, the last line, following 2 courses at once.
So the biggest opposite is an ending and a beginning. So one day ends and the next day begins.
I like the fact what you were talking about, Craig. The owner, he met his objectives without losing anything at all. He compromised without losing anything.
But he did compromise.
He didn't.
It was just the way he rephrased.
But think about this, though, Marla. I never thought about this. Okay. Part of negotiation has nothing to do with monetary. It's ego and pride and not giving in. And he surrendered that part. It didn't cost him. I don't know how many times people would rather lose money in negotiation than give in.
Right. The need to be right.
The need to be right has nothing to do with monetary. Here, he could have very easily said, no, by God, you're going to do it the way I want you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, he said, okay, I will do this the way you want, which is so difficult a lot of times in negotiation. It has everything to do with that pride and ego of winning. That idea that I must win and you must lose.
And it says that the truly wise man considering both sides of the question without partiality. So he's impartial.
Right. His ego and pride he set aside, right?
Right.
Yeah, which means he has to let go of his ego.
Yeah.
See things impartially. Or to see both sides of it. We were talking about that this morning in the Tao, letting go of the ego in a big way.
What is that acronym for ego? Easing God out?
Yep. What time did fishermen go out in the morning?
I was going to tell you about the first rays that hit the earth. Where yogis find that time, I think between 3 and 4, where the light before the sun comes up, and they want to be up when the first rays of light hit the earth, just before the sun comes up. And I think it's right around that time too. It's a magical time.
I like to be out meditating and listen to the birds wake up as I meditate. That's that same time.
Yeah. It's a really auspicious time.
We have a seagull that does that. He sits on the roof across the street from us, and it starts to get light around about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. He sings us the same song every single morning without fail.
We have chickens that do that here, Craig.
I'd
Y'all
love
have a seagull that does it?
No. Yeah. So the reason I was asking about the time the fishermen go out in the morning was I just Googled 3 in the morning, and it came up, it directed me to daily biblical sermons. So I don't know if it was to do with getting in touch with your spirituality. You get So 3 o'clock in the morning, I feel a bit more spiritually connected because I have absolutely nothing at all going on.
Okay. Understand.
So it kind of gives me that bit of that bit more time to myself that I can just sit, relax, meditate. I'm not hanging on to anything because nothing's started in my day yet.
What about the fishermen? What are you asking about the fishermen?
Because I Googled 3 o'clock in the morning, and the first thing it took me to was biblical sermons, and it's talking about the fishermen going out to catch the fish.
That you've got to be out early to catch the fish. Be out at daylight on the water. How about this? The opposites. This is the 43rd chapter of the Tao Te Ching. The gentlest thing in the world overcomes the hardest thing in the world. That which has no substance enters where there is no space. This shows the value of non-action, teaching without words, performing without actions. This is the master's way. Or true perfection, this is 45. True perfection seems imperfect, yet it's perfectly itself. True fullness seems empty, yet it is fully present. True straightness seems crooked. True wisdom seems foolish. True art seems artless. The master allows things to happen without partiality. The master allows things to happen. She shapes events as they come. She steps out of the way and lets the Tao speak for itself. That's coming away from those edges and coming to the middle, is approaching life without partiality.
Yeah.
I think that's what this That's a good title. Let me write that one down.
That's a good title. I look at some of these phrases, like the verses this morning, and how their ideas are so big, and how badly I want it, and how difficult it is to get because it's so big. And you have to get this person, I have to get there incrementally in steps. I think, Tina, you were talking about that not too long ago. You having to do the steps to get to a place where you can feel impartial about something. I feel like such a loser sometimes reading some of this, and this is where I want to be enlightened like this, and so far from it.
I think we all feel that way at times, Marla.
Yeah, that it's such big ideas here in the Tao, and they're, God, so I want them to be attainable. Anyway.
Marla, when you say that, for me, I hear desiring that growth and desiring to be better is humility, and kind of exemplifying where I think enlightened people, or I guess, is where I always want to be, instead of thinking, I get it, now I'm bored, what's next? Because that's the foolish way.
Yes.
So you're right. You're right on track.
Oh, thank God.
I mean, always keep staying humble is the key. And it's like the grass is always greener. And if, you felt like you had it all down pat,
I could die.
Then what are you learning? You're not learning or desiring to learn. So
right. I would be dead.
That's awesome.
No openness. If you think you've got it figured out, you've already lost it.
Right.
It's that idea that that you don't have the answers, and it's okay not to have the answers. That's actually where I think that's that beginner don't know mind.
Exactly.
And I think that's where we're supposed to learn to stay, is in that attitude that we don't have it figured out. And I think that openness is what leaves room for us to see the solution, to see whatever we need to in the situation, is because we lay aside our pride and ego, and we say, okay, we don't have the answer. And that makes us willing to look. That's really surrender when you think about it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. It is really surrender.
And I think that's what recovery's brought to me, is that element of surrender in things, because I never had that element before. I never learned that in any spiritual walk before I got to recovery. Surrender was not part of it.
It wasn't part of the vocabulary, the lexicon, anything. Nothing. Not even in religion. Well,
not in Christianity, it wasn't. I mean, you may in Christianity, for me, you might have repented or felt sorry for what you had done wrong, but that's not surrender. I asked God to help me with things. I never got out of the way to, Derek, what we've been talking about, getting out of the way so that God can do it for me. There wasn't that. It was, God help me. This is how I interpreted it, and I thought that was what was supposed to happen with everything. God help me with things.
We were told to pray to God, right? Pray to
to ask for help. Ask for help. Which sounds legit, like it would with anything else. You need help. Okay, I'll come help you move that. Here, you do everything. You carry your end, and I'll carry the end. You can't. That kind of thing.
And go backwards doing it.
Yeah, but it's and it's not that. For me, it's the idea that I don't have the ability to carry whatever this is we're talking about. It's not that I can carry part of it. I can't carry any of it. But I do have work to do. And it seems my work is to help someone else and to consider someone else. Like in the negotiation, this 3 a.m, bringing it back. The truly wise man has to look at this without partiality. That is surrender. That is valuing your opinion. That is love. That's love in this. Is surrendering his ego, surrendering his pride, and saying, how can I look at this other side without partiality, looking at both sides of the question without partiality, sees them both in the light of the Tao, sees both sides in the light of the Tao because he chooses to look without partiality.
But what if it's not that? What if it's not that much effort for him, and he's not looking at them with impartiality, or whatever? He's not. He's just saying, I have a goal, is to make them happy. So I'm just going to do something to make them think that they're getting what they want. Because, and he's just trying to reach his end goal, and compassion and love may not even be in the factor, where you could look at it that way and say, oh, he cares about both of them. But, so he's trying to accommodate everybody, and he's just saying, look, I got a job to do, I need to get these monkeys eat these chestnuts, and then he just, sometimes it's not that complicated. Maybe I don't know. I was just thinking.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, though. I think our idea of what love is a lot of times may not be that accurate too. One aspect of love is me considering your opinion.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm gushing all over you. That just means I'm considering what you think, what you value. That is an aspect of being open,
creating a safe space for me to explore and bounce ideas off, because that's how we learn. But yeah.
So that aspect of love is, I think that's an aspect of that. It's not the kind of love that we think of a lot of times, like, but he had to look at the situation without partiality. He had to look at it outside of his pride and ego to make that work, in my thinking. So it had an aspect of love, maybe not the aspect that we look at as love, He didn't go in thinking, ooh, how can I do great things for these monkeys? It may have been just, but he had to look at it from their point of view, which is, I think, one aspect of love. He had to look at, say, okay, what is it they feel is important? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, I can see that. Now, what if we did this?
The willingness to look at the other side and to consider it. Because you care about the other person.
Or maybe even because you don't care about the other person. Yeah. You don't even have to care about them.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could even hate them. It could be the person in the target line.
But it's just like when you pray for someone who you have a resentment against. You don't do that because you love the person. You do that because you want to be free of the resentment. Now, you might end up loving the person.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It doesn't start from a lot of times those actions we take do not start from a place of love. They start from a place of wanting relief.
Right.
And in the same way, this guy, now I've heard other versions of this story. I heard a version of this story I read where the monkeys were his pets, and that he was having to take and cut back on the amount of food he was giving them because his family said that, that his family was short on food, and he was having to cut back on what he gave the monkeys because he was giving them food that he needed to give his family. So he was starting to negotiate with the monkeys, and the monkeys didn't like it. So there's all kinds of different versions of this particular story. But, anytime that we're negotiating with something or having to work out, we're in constant negotiation. And if whenever we're talking to anyone about anything, if it's our kids, our spouse, buying a new TV, or we have a problem with something we're trying to get straightened out, whatever it is, if we can take a moment and look at the situation, both sides, without partiality, and try to understand why this person's telling me no when I want them to tell me yes. Why are they telling me no? What is behind that no? Then I can start understanding what's going on. And number one, it takes care of my temper with that. If I can understand it, a lot of times I'm not as angry. And two, maybe I can see a solution that I couldn't see before, because all I was seeing before was, mofo, tell me yes. That's what I want to hear. But when I'm okay with seeing the other side, then sometimes I can be okay with a no, or be better with a no than what I would be otherwise, or see a solution, or see why it should be no. There's times it should be.
This is Derek. I like this story. That's why I joined a little late. Sorry. But I just want to hear what you guys had to say about it, and I didn't want to wait 4 days. How long it takes. And but for me, now that you're talking about it, I could easily see how you could read this story. Actually, this is my first pass through. Was like, oh, it was an even-sum game, so he got what he wanted in the end. To me, that would be the unfortunate way to read it, though, because that to me would be like, that's not how my life works. That's not how I'm finding it works for me. The real lesson here seems to be that he was willing to listen to the other side, like you said. So I always think about the one time I ever tried to coach a kid's sports team, kids soccer. I went in thinking it was going to be one way. Surely this is somewhere where everything I say is the road. There's no other road. And I quickly found out that's not, even if you're the coach of a sports team, maybe the best coaches figure it out. But I mean, for me, that was a lesson in humility. I'm not even in charge of 10-year-olds. They have opinions, they have their own issues and stuff. And I was it was just so leveling. Because I thought, this should be easy. I can just coach. They asked me to coach him. Well, I just tell them what to do. I know place. But it just wasn't that simple. And my home life's that way, my work life's that way. Everything turns out that way, and I just have to listen to others. Is how it turns out. And, somebody else is in charge. It turns out it's not me.
Yeah.
Kid soccer.
Anytime, Derek, that I approach a situation thinking I have it figured out, I'm approaching it with partiality, because I'm not valuing another's opinion. I'm saying, okay, this is how we do this. I know what to do. Then I'm not open to real solutions other than mine. And chances are there's a better solution than what I figured out. Or at least I'm not open to anything else. So I'm approaching with partiality instead of without. And then what happens is when everyone doesn't do things the way I want them to do it, then I get angry.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's problematic it's got to be problematic when you're considered an expert in a field, or you have this domain figured out, parenting, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think maybe I got this parenting thing down. But maybe there's, to me, that's what this story is trying to teach us, is about how to listen to the other side.
Yeah. Thanks, Derek. Anyone else, guys? Help. You want me to unmute you, Tina?
I got it. When my son was about 2 years old, I was just thinking about this when Derek brought up the soccer team. I was like, hey, pick up all your toys and put them in the bin. Make you bring your toys over and put them in the bin. And I was just adamant on him doing this. And he went and grabbed the bin, and I was like, no, we're not playing with our toys. Put the bin down, Well, he took the bin to the toys and put the toys. And I thought, and I just, It's something I always remember, because in my mind, I thought, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm the adult. And it was so much easier for him to bring the bin to the toys. And it just, it's like when Derek said, just because, you might be the professional in the field, or you might think you know what you're doing, but the way my thinking is, especially, is I get stuck on, no, it has to be this way, kind of Rain Man-y a little bit, like, no, has to be this way. But at least I know that about myself now, and I can say, okay, I'll put my hands in the air and see what, let's just get it done. And to me, this story was a lot about control and perceived control, and I have to be in control, but sometimes the people feel like they have to be in control if you're looking at it from a leader's point of view. When, it's about that ego again, the underlying theme, I'm just saying. And, in the Tao, they keep talking about the all-encompassing leader being the one that lets the people lead, and the leader follows.
They don't even know they have a leader.
Yeah.
The best leader.
Lead without leading.
Yes. What the best leader is not even known. That's leading without partiality. That's, that's doing the 3 a.m. That's good. There's a lot more there than I thought. Thank you, guys. That's some good stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
So real world application of this.
I thought Tina gave a perfect example with her son of looking at something completely different, in a different way, and being successful also, which is a bonus, but like solving a problem in a completely different manner that works perfectly well.
Or if I'm dealing with an adult, the question I could ask would be, what I was thinking was, the question I could ask is, why is their opinion different from mine? I remember I got in a fuss with my wife. I know she won't listen to any of this. And once I slowed down and started really listening and thinking, why is this her opinion? The reason was something totally different than anything that was going on. And I said, oh, this is why. Like Zach, congratulations to Zach. He should be back next week. He just had a new little boy. So he texted me today and said he's going to be back on schedule next week, he hopes. But one of his sayings is, the real question is, what are you afraid of? When somebody's disagreeing, when you're disagreeing, okay, who's afraid of what? Because that's the problem, is there's some fear going on here. Why are we, what's the problem? And when me and my wife would fuss about money, or she would come down hard on me about something, I realized, wait, this is her insecurity. That's why. That's what this is about. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So how can I make her feel secure? Then I can do anything I want to do if I can make her feel secure. I can still get my way, but I have to look at it without partiality, right? I have to say, okay, honey, well, why don't we do this and this? And then she's fine. She just needs to feel secure. So that's...
Just like the monkeys.
Yeah. It's not about the chestnuts. It's not the number of chestnuts.
Nope. Cute.
But that's the hardest part, though, isn't it? Is a lot of times it has nothing to do. The money, which you think would be the thing that the number of chestnuts, or the money, or if you're negotiating about something, you think it's the money, when a lot of times it is just the package it's coming in. It's not my package. It's not the way I want to do it. When in reality, it has nothing to do with the real monetary value. It's the ego and pride that's attached to it.
Yeah.
So looking at every situation like, okay, how can I value their opinion or value the reason they're thinking this particular thing or taking this side? Why Why do they feel this is so important? Yeah, that's good.
It's all good.
Anything else, guys?
No.
Any final words? You had some good stuff today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, remember to be getting your questions together on the first chapter of the Tao Te Ching for Sensei. That will be a week from Thursday.
Would you like us to have them written down and put them in Messenger?
Actually, let's put them in the Facebook group, in the Tao Facebook group, and we put a post there for those. Or you can put them in the Messengers, fine, because I'm just going to assemble them and send them to him. He wants them a few days beforehand, so it'd be good to get those this week, to give him a week with the questions. And then that way he's got that. If anyone wants to give a donation to support the Zen Center, this is very gracious of him. I will put that link in the show notes with the links for the meetings and the name of the Tao Facebook group, which is the Tao of Our Understanding. So
we've actually just had 2 new members. So Alison and Paul, welcome to the group. Welcome to awesomeness.
Craig loves these groups. You know, he wanted me to do this a long time ago, and I said, no, we don't need another Facebook group. I finally came around. And I said that, you know, after the meeting last week, we said we were going to do it. Before I know it, he's sending me invites. He's already created it, you know.
Yeah, I saw that almost immediately.
Oh, I think he had made it like weeks or months ago, weeks ago, and he's just waiting and said, I'm going to convince Buddy we need to do this.
No. I actually done it during last week's meeting. So that's why I'm sat halfway through the meeting like that. I've not fell asleep. I'm sat on the phone doing the stuff on the Facebook page. But
yeah, I just got a notice.
Well, I'll go ahead and join the group today.
All right, guys, that's good.
I've sent you 2 invites. It's your last chance. You only get 2 chances. So Buddy put me in charge of another group. It's one of the AA groups that we're admins on, and he's admitting people left, right, and centre. I'm like, no, Buddy, calm down. Let's welcome them as they come into the group. Let's just let them.
I'm not going to do all that. I just let them get in there, and they can.
That's too much like hard work.
All right, guys. If there's nothing else, we'll call it there.
All right. See you next week.
Have a great week.
Hello, this is Buddy C. I wanted to make you aware of several recovery-related resources that I've posted in the episode description. These resources include a list of recovery podcasts, a free sober meditation app, daily recovery email, shared Google recovery calendars. Hope you put some of these resources to use and have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends in recovery.